So there's this dude who's a super plumber. And he's going on another adventure, this time with his brother, his girlfriend, and some random nobody. Actually, this isn't Mario's second game. His actual second game was deemed to be too hard for us dumb Americans. This was a reskin of a completely different, unrelated game. Yeah, you see, I'm well aware of that. It's just this game's funner. For those of you unaware, the Super Mario Bros. 2 we got in America is not actually the Super Mario Bros. 2 of Japan. The original Super Mario Bros. 2 was a torture simulator designed to masquerade as a Mario game. It didn't really add much more from the existing Super Mario Bros. It was just much, much harder. When the original Super Mario Bros. 2 arrived in North America, it made Howard Phillips, who was the guy in charge of testing all imports from Nintendo of Japan for the American audience, question why Shigeru Miyamoto would design such a painful game. Fearing that the original Super Mario Bros. 2 would damage Mario's reputation in the West, they opted to take a different game from Japan and give it a makeover to make it look like a Super Mario game. The game they chose was named Yumi Koji Doki Doki Panic, and ironically enough, this game actually started as the prototype for Super Mario Bros. 2, but that's way too complicated to get into. Now, you might be thinking, they should have just released the original anyways. Worst case scenario is that people don't like it, right? Why bother going through all of this hassle? You see, the video game market of the late 1980s is a lot different than it is nowadays in the year 20XX. They were just recovering from the video game crash of 1983, which is something I should make a video on. Super Mario Bros., with its success and beginner friendly gameplay, is widely credited with ending the crash and bringing back consumer confidence in the fledgling video game market. So now put yourself in the shoes of an executive of Nintendo of America in 1988. Are you really going to gamble the success of not only your company, but the entire industry you are a part of on a game that's a glorified level pack that is more likely to harm than help your current golden goose? Yeah, I don't blame them in the slightest for swapping out the game. So, you might be wondering, does this mean that this game doesn't connect to the rest of the Mario series? Actually, it has more connections to the modern series than Japan's Super Mario Bros. 2. There are several series staples enemies that got their debut in this game. There are also some character quirks that started in this game that are still present to this day. Actually, the first game to have Luigi's longer jump is I don't care! Yeah, so for the most part, I'm just going to ignore Doki Doki Panic and treat Super Mario Bros. 2 as its own game. I might make a video going over the difference later, don't hold me to that. Anyways, now that we're done with that totally necessary tangent, let's get back to the game. When you start up the game, it gives you the background to the adventure. The story states when Mario opened a door after climbing a long stair in his dream, another world spread before him, and he heard a voice call for help to be freed from a spell. After awakening, Mario went to a cave nearby, and to his surprise, he saw exactly what he saw in his dream. So, not trying to spoil anything right at the beginning, but since it's pretty well known anyways, Super Mario Bros. 2 takes place in a dream of Mario's. This is supposed to be a big reveal at the end, but when I read this text box, it confused me. It seems to be implying that we are not in a dream, but in a dreamlike world that can be found in a cave. So, what's going on here? Well, let's check to see if the manual has any more information. Ooh, yeah, it's got a bit more info. Bear with me, folks, this is going to take a while. One evening, Mario had a strange dream. He dreamt of a long, long stairway leading up to a door. As soon as the door opened, he was confronted with a world he had never seen before, spreading out as far as his eyes could see. When he strained his ears to listen, he heard a faint voice saying, "Welcome to Subcon, the land of dreams." Oh, wait, I thought that was Dreamland. Different series, I suppose. We have been cursed by Wart, and we are completely under his evil spell. Who is Wart? Well, Wart is this game's Bowser. He's the big bad. But instead of being a black magic turtle, he's a nightmare frog. Anyways, we have been waiting for your arrival. Please defeat Wart and return Subcon to its natural state. The curse Wart has put on you in the real world will not have any effect upon you here? Wait, what? What curse has been placed upon us? Did I miss a piece of text? Nope, that just came straight out of nowhere. Remember, Wart hates vegetables. Yep, I'll be sure to write that one down. I'm sure it will come in handy later. Please help us. Well, that's a lot to ask, but we've been given stranger calls to adventure. Let's go save the Subcons, who are the residents of Subcon. Something that this intro does not mention. Oh my goodness, there's another whole page and a half of this? At the same time this was heard, a bolt of lightning flashed before Mario's eyes. Stunned, Mario lost his footing and tumbled upside down. He awoke with a start to find himself sitting up in his bed. Wait, was the bolt of lightning in the dream or was it in real life? This is not helping my confusion. To clear his head, Mario talked to Luigi, Toad, and the princess about the strange dream he had. They decided to go to a nearby mountain for a picnic. You know, as you do after explaining to your closest friends about your recent insane fever dream. After arriving at the picnic area and looking at the scenery, they see a small cave nearby. Don't enter that cave. I've seen one too many YouTube videos on this topic that makes me think that's a terrible idea. When they enter the cave, of course they do, to their great surprise, there is a stairway leading up, up, and up. It is exactly like the one Mario saw in his dream. They all walk together up the stairs and at the top find a door, just like the one in Mario's dream. When Mario and his friends in fear open the door to their surprise, what is that sentence? The world that he saw in his dream spread out before them. Is is that it? No, 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 no. There's got to be more information. What is Wart's curse on us? Are we in a dream or are we not? What Christopher Nolan level of storytelling are we at here? So, starting Super Mario Bros. 2 in full, you get a choice to play as either Mario, Luigi, Toad, or Princess Toadstool. Once again, not Peach yet, Toadstool. No difference whatsoever unless you're a nitpicker like myself. At times. Each character has their own strengths and weaknesses. Mario is the most average character. He's good all around, his jump is the second tallest, and his speed is the second fastest. He's also the second strongest character, which means he can pick up enemies faster. Right, should explain that key concept. Super Mario Bros. 2 is very different from every other Mario game. You cannot defeat enemies by just jumping on them, which feels like a cardinal sin the first time it happens to you. You must pick them up and throw them at other enemies. You can also pick up vegetables and other things and use them as weapons. Taste my turnips! Anyways, Mario is a great choice for someone's first playthrough of the game. Luigi is a bit slower and a bit weaker, but he's got the highest jump in the game. Luigi jumps so high that you could skip half the game if you wanted to. Luigi would be best suited for someone who is looking for some help in pulling off some more advanced moves. Toad is an interesting choice. Oh, who do you want to play as? I know, the hostage from the first game. He is the fastest character and the strongest character. If he's so strong, how in the world did he get captured by Bowser's minions in the first game? He must have been doing some crazy lifting between the first and second game. The only thing that Toad is not good at is jumping. In fact, he is the worst jumper. I would only recommend playing as Toad if you're looking for a challenge. Last but certainly not least is Princess Toadstool, who has the worst collective stats of any character in the game. Why does the princess suck so much? Well, it's because she's a girl. It's actually due to the fact that she has the most broken ability in the game, which is the ability to float. I would recommend Princess for those who are new to platform games, as the float ability can help get over those tricky jumps. I should note that you will get a chance to choose which character you want to play as at the beginning of each level or whenever you lose a life. So don't feel pressured to pick one over the other, as you will have plenty of chances to try them all out. But obviously, the only real choice is Luigi. Look at that boy jump! So once you pick a character, you are thrown into World 1-1. You actually drop in from the door mentioned in the manual. That's some nice continuity there. And holy crap, we're dropping. I do wonder if this freaked anyone out when they first played it in 1988. Dropping in a platformer is always bad, but back in the 80s, it was almost always a guaranteed death sentence. So starting the game off by dropping you and not killing you, but causing the game to scroll, was a pretty ballsy choice. Eventually, you'll land at the base of a mountain, where you find another door. And what's behind door number 2? Well, why don't we find out? Oh, it's just more level. I mean, I was kind of hoping for a car, but more level is just as good. So, just like in the original Super Mario Bros., there are multiple levels in this game. In total, there are 7 worlds, which each have 3 levels each, except for World 7, which only has 2 levels. More on that later. So, that means that there are only 20 levels in this game, which is 12 less than Super Mario Bros. 1. That must mean that this is a shorter game, right? Oh, you sweet, naive fool. These levels are far larger and, quite frankly, far more detailed than the levels in Super Mario Bros. 1. Also, unlike in Super Mario Bros. 1, Super Mario Bros. 2's worlds each have their own unique theme. Kind of. Close enough for the 80s, anyways. World 1's theme is grassland, which ironically enough became a series staple after this game. So, speaking of grass, flawless transition here, one of the new mechanics that I mentioned was the ability to pick vegetables. But there's a lot of other things that you can pull up from the ground, ranging from turtle shells to bombs to magic potions that open up doors to alternate realities. And before you post it, no, they are not Koopa shells, they are turtle shells, because people didn't care for a single second about continuity back in the day. But of course, these tools would be useless if you had nothing to use them on. Let's talk about the enemies in this game. We got some of my favorites here: the Shy Guys, the Sniffits, the Ninja. And of course, we can't forget my boy Tweeter over here. He's got two amazing appearances in this series: this game and as a hot dog in the live action movie. Don't let the enemies touch you, or you'll lose a heart and become a child. But you can easily get more hearts, both in the recovery sense and adding to your counter. To gain more hearts, all you gotta do is open a door to an alternate reality, and in certain locations, you can find a mushroom, which, if you pick up, will increase your total hearts until the end of the level. Speaking of levels, oh, these transitions are mwah, chef's kiss. This first level isn't as iconic as World 1 1 of SMB1, but it's still well designed. A good first level helps players get used to the mechanics of the game. And this one certainly gives you more than enough opportunities to learn. Towards the end of the level, you need to climb up a mountain. The vertical scrolling, as compared to the horizontal scrolling, brings about an interesting change in gameplay mechanics that really adds needed variety to the side scrolling platformer. Is something I would say if I wanted to be pretentious. Once you get to the top of the mountain, you'll run into Birdo, who acts as a mini boss throughout this entire game. This one's a pink one, so she'll shoot eggs at you. All you gotta do is pick up those eggs from the sky and throw them back at her. After 3 eggs hit Birdo, she dies, and she'll drop a pearl that you need to pick up, and then you walk into the mouth of a bird. If you found some coins by picking weeds in an alternate dimension, you can play some slots to gain some extra lives, which is a real sentence that I just said to you. Anyways, you will be loaded into World 1 2, where your first task is to steal this guy's flying carpet to cross a bottomless pit. Once you're on the other side, you got to go into this jar to pick up a key to open a door to a cave. But be careful, because once you pick up the keys, masks will come flying in from nowhere and they will attempt to kill you. This game is wild, man. Once again, Birdo is the boss of this level. Trust me, you'll get sick of seeing this mug by the end of the game. Let's move on to World 1 3, which is a castle level. This time, we actually have to walk into the castle. You can warp to World 4 by entering an alternate dimension next to this jar, but once again, I enjoy playing through my games. This castle is interesting as it is vertical. I would recommend going up to pick up this key and then dropping to the bottom to open this door. You do not want to try this in the opposite order. Once you get to the end of the level, you'll find a pearl, but no Birdo. Walk into the mask gate and you'll be brought into a boss chamber. This boss is Mauser, who will throw an endless stream of bombs at you. All you gotta do is throw them back. This is easier said than done, as it's very likely that the bombs will explode on you, just like how those fireworks exploded in your uncle's hand during the 4th of July, traumatizing you for life. Anyways, repressed memories aside, after giving this explosive happy rat a taste of his own medicine 3 times, he dies, which will open a door that will lead you to the next world, and more importantly, more slot machines. Well, there goes my future child's college fund. So, moving on to the next world, which is creatively named World 2. World 2 is a desert world. You can tell because of all the pyramids in the background. Look out for all the cobrats spitting tiny cannonballs at you. They're almost as deadly as the pits of quicksand. Or these panzers, which are flowers that shoot fireballs. Man, I wonder where they got that idea. Oh, wait, they didn't gain that ability until Super Mario Bros. 3. So, who's copying who now? Once you get to the end of the level, you can actually enter a pyramid, and then you begin the worst part of the game: digging your own grave. Okay, so what you are actually doing is digging up the sand to create your own path. Cool idea in theory, terribly executed here. The main issue is that if you run into an enemy here, there's very little you can do against it besides die. Better hope you can collect enough cherries to spawn a star to give yourself invincibility, which is another real sentence that I just said. Either way, eventually you'll be at the bottom of the pit, which leads to a door, which leads to another Birdo. How original. So now we have another desert level. There's really not much else to say about it. No pyramids this time. Hey, the Birdo at the end of this level is red. Well, looks like we're finally spicing things up here. Literally, on top of shooting eggs, this one shoots fire. Alright, one more level to go in this world. And surprise, it's not a castle level. It's a pyramid level that is very much castle themed. Ugh, more digging. Digatana, digatana. Once you get to the end of this level, you find another boss chamber. And the boss of this world is, what? Gleok? Is that you? There is no escape, only Gleok. Actually, this guy is named Triclyde. To think I was spooked by a guy named Clyde. Triclyde is a bit of a difficult fight. He shoots a lot of fireballs. But that's alright because we got plenty of mushroom blocks that we can use to bonk him. Once he's been bonked to the Shadow Realm, we can move on to the next world. Can you guess what this one is called? Correct, Delicioso. World 3 is a weird world. It's another grassland world, but the first level is basically a giant waterfall that ends with a trip up into the clouds via a magic carpet. Then the next level seems like it's going to be a normal level. I mean, it just has some shy guys riding on ostriches. It's all good in the hood. But then you go under the surface, and it turns out that you've been thrown into a cave adventure. Yeah, that's definitely what this game has been missing. Cave maze. And the final level of this world is a giant tower. We must ascend the tower. I must know, in this highly creative and unique world, what is it that can be found at the top of the tallest tower? Oh, it's another mouser. Well, that's disappointing. All right, let's just move on to World 4. World 4 is a snow world. Your first task is to cross the ice bridge, where walking marshmallows are attempting to murder you. Then you pull up some weeds, which turn into a rocket ship, which shoots you up into the next part of the level, where shy guys riding cannons attempt to stop you from crossing the street. Huh, no Birdo at the end of the level. Interesting change of pace. Speaking of change of pace, we got a sprinting level on ice. This is amazing and painful all at once. Also, we got whales. Look at those sly little whales. They're planning something devious, I can just tell. Don't trust the whales. Anyways, on to the castle level of this world. World 4-3 is a set of towers. So this is actually kind of interesting. To get to the towers, you have to ride the egg of a birdo in order to get over there. Blew my mind when I figured this out at the young age of 25. The climb up the first tower isn't so bad. However, the only way to get down the second tower is to ride a shy guy all the way down. I fell into a frozen lake of ice, or however that song goes. Anyways, eventually you'll get into another boss chamber. What kind of boss could be waiting for us at the end of this ice-themed world? A giant ball of fire, of course. He's quite the Fry Guy, if you know what I mean. I'm being serious, his name is Fry Guy. I don't know about you, but I imagine Fry Guy looking like this. Anyways, let's beat him to death with some blocks. That'll teach you to be a living contradiction. Ah, geez, he just split into 4 children. Ugh, why can't these attempts at murder ever be clean? Anyways, on to World 5. World 5 is a nighttime world. I always love this aesthetic. The first level has you jumping across a really long waterfall. Then this level ends with another Birdo fight. But this one is green, so it only shoots fireballs. Thankfully, we have the conveniently placed mushroom block right over here. The second level of World 5 is pretty normal, all things considered, until you get to this point way up on top of a mountain, where your only choice is to pick up this POW block. And once you do, you begin free falling, which sounds like a great time until you get impaled on a couple of spikes. I'm gonna miss you, Toad. He was only 13 years from retirement. Moving on from the tragic loss of our friend there, we have the castle of World 5, which are a bunch of trees. At least I think these are giant trees. I'm going to say that they are giant trees. The cool thing is that once you climb up the tree from the inside, you are up in the clouds, and these trees line up with the ones on the ground. Except for these platforms. These platforms are standing on nothing but lies. Oh wow, a Birdo. We haven't had to fight a Birdo in a castle level up until this point. It's a change of pace, I guess. Anyways, let's move on to the boss chamber. So here's this giant enemy crab, and you attack its weak point for massive damage. References to 2006 conferences aside, this is Claw Grip. He throws rocks at you. What do we do to defeat him? Well, you know what they say when life hands you lemons, throw them back. I'm gonna burn your house down with the lemons. Why am I making so many references today? Anyways, World 6. World 6 is a desert world. Again. Well, you can only be creative for so long. The first level of World 6 is probably the worst level in this game, and it's all due to one reason. These stupid jars. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 22 jars in this room, and only one of them has a key that you need in order to progress. The others are a complete waste of time. Now might be a good time to mention that there is no timer, unlike in most 2D Mario games, which is nice when they throw a curveball like this at you. I mean, don't get me wrong, this might be one of the single dumbest designs I've ever seen in a game, but at least I can spend eternity in this pachinko machine. The next level is a lot better. You gotta jump across a long bottomless pit by flying on the backs of birds. It's such a cool idea. How in the universe are these two levels in the same game, let alone the same world? Speaking of cool level ideas, the castle level of World 6. It seems like it's just going to be another boring desert level. But then you begin climbing vines up into the sky, where you find a floating pyramid, inside of which you find another Birdo, which, once defeated, leads you to the boss chamber, and the boss chamber is. Oh, it's you again. Get out of here, you Hydra wannabe. Gleok is my true bay. Now that we're done with that incredibly cursed line, it's on to the final world, World 7. First thing to note is that there are only two levels in this world. Now, why would that be? Well, in Doki Doki Panic, which, if you remember, is the game Super Mario Bros. 2 is based on, the entire game is set inside a magical storybook. Each world in the game is a chapter of the book. The missing ending chapter is due to some accident that is way too stupid to get into, even for this series, which resulted in the last pages of the book being ripped out. The content of these ripped out pages detailed the defeat of Wart. By removing the downfall of the villain from the story, Wart has the ability to write his own destiny, which is why he is doing everything in his power to make sure that he wins in the end. But that now begs the question, is our quest fruitless? Are we even able to defeat Wart? Who is actually going to win in the end? Which is a fascinating concept to have to ponder as you traverse through the game. But why is the last level missing in Super Mario Bros. 2? I don't know what you're talking about. There is no missing level in Ba Sing Se. World 7 is a sky world. It is entirely set amongst the clouds. The first level is just a simple climb up the clouds level. Nothing too special. Kind of beautiful in an ethereal sort of way. But World 7 2. Wow. World 7 2. World 7 2 is Wart's castle. It's a huge, sprawling complex of a castle. I would try to explain how to get through this place, but quite frankly, there's no wrong answer. All roads eventually lead to Wart. Well, they actually all lead to this locked door, but close enough. The key for this door is actually with a Birdo at the moment. Thankfully, this is the last Birdo of the game. I won't miss you, you literal copy paste villain. Once inside the door, you will find a hallway. Inside the hallway, you will find a mask gate and a pearl sitting out in the open. Once you pick up the pearl, the mask gate comes to life and starts attacking you. You thought you could trust a door? Think again, idiot. You're gonna have to beat it into submission. Just like there is no joke here that I could make that wouldn't get this video taken down, so use your imagination. Ugh, that's what you thought? You disgust me. Anyways, once you have defeated the gate, it will allow you to pass through it, granting you access to the boss chamber, inside of which you find Wart, who's spitting out deadly bubbles and is sitting next to the Dream Machine. Oh shoot, I nearly forgot to mention that. The Dream Machine is the thing Wart is using to create his army, the 8 bits. Yes, that is what they are called. It originally belonged to the subcons, but Wart stole it and is now corrupting it, the average evil villain stuff. In Doki Doki Panic, for the final fight, the subcons, which are called the Moo people, not sure why I wanted to include that in my notes, but anyways, reprogram the machine to also shoot out vegetables. Which, if you remember all the way back to the beginning, Wart hates vegetables. In Super Mario Brothers 2, this thing is just sort of here. It's not really given much of a reason. But it's still shooting out vegetables, which we can still use to throw at Wart, causing this frog to take damage from being forced to eat his greens. That's what you get for being a picky eater. Once you hit Wart 6 times with vegetables, it causes him to choke to death. He turns gray and falls off the screen. A door opens up, which leads to a jar that's plugged shut. Your character of choice jumps up on the platform and releases the creatures trapped inside, the subcons. The subcons then hold a victory celebration for you where each character's contributions have been horribly counted. Also, the subcons crowd surf Wart's dead corpse across the screen and then throw him into what I can only assume is a wood chipper, proving that you shouldn't mess with subcons. All is right in the land once more. And then the game cuts to Mario, who is sleeping in his bed. So, wait, it was a dream or was it not? I thought we were in a dream-like world. Are we still in the dream or is it that the dream's over? Like, how many levels deep are we? I mean, in the intro, was Mario dreaming about a dream? And wasn't this all supposed to take place in a magical storybook? What happened to that? Is Toad dead or alive right now? Well, don't expect any answers here as the credits start rolling. Fun fact, Ostro and Birdo have their names switched, and Clawgrip and Triglide are misspelled as Clawglip and Triglide. Look, it doesn't work saying it out loud. Anyways, that's the end of the game. No joke, there is no second playthrough. It's just over. What in the world did I just play? And why was it way better than people told me it was?